topic of supply chain security is growing importance because if you talk about any organization which is having an outsourcing network, the organization works with a lot of third parties, fourth parties and fifth parties. So there is a greater, the organizations are relying on these service providers to make their day-to-day work happen. So it is often said like the more you grow towards the supply chain, the weaker your supply chain becomes, because there is lack of visibility happening towards the end of the supply chains to the fourth and fifth parties. So if you check about the recent attacks and breaches which happened, you will notice that the majority of the breaches which happened, even some of them were discussed this morning, happened because of the third parties or the fourth parties. So with that, there is an increased importance to manage the security among the third, fourth and nth parties. We call them supply chain. And the regulatory guidances around the globe are enforcing the regulated entities, including the banks, the FMCG organizations, the energy organizations and all, to ensure that while they're working with third parties, while they're sharing the data, while they're integrating with the network, it should be safe and secure. So there is a huge surge towards securing third parties in the last 5 years, especially after SolarWinds attack. Yeah. So for me, as I mentioned before, it is the deeper insight towards the supply chain, because not all regulated entities think about their fourth parties. They are just limited towards the third parties. So when a bank is working with, let's say, a payroll service provider, they are just focused on the payroll service provider. If the data is going beyond the payroll service provider, let's say the payroll service provider is hosting the data on a cloud. The cloud is further serviced by certain engineers from an XYZ locations. The bank is not able to look at this deep level of supply chain. So if a breach happens with the cloud, the bank may or may not be aware about it. So the deeper insights to the supply chain becomes one of the big challenge. People are working on that to mitigate it, like introducing them into the supply chains monitoring solutions and all, getting contractually driven, driving these things contractually. But there are resolutions working on that, but still this is a deeper challenge. Number two, there is lack of awareness on the topic of TPRM, third-party risk management, because the managements and all, they are not that aware about the concept of TPRM, because of which when our vendor is being reviewed, the business wants the review to be completed ASAP to onboard the services from the vendor. However, TPRM may or may not take time to review the end-to-end third parties, security, best practices and controls. It's a time-taking phenomenon. So often this comes as a request from the business at the last moment to review a vendor to onboard them ASAP. But TPRM requires a lot of activities to be done, and we need to put ourselves into the vendor's shoes and think, what are the gaps and what are the issues, blah, blah, blah. So this is a time-taking phenomenon, and which is not given that importance, because of which TPRM becomes a checkbox clicked activity, and because of which we forget checking the actual controls. So that is challenge number 2. Today morning we discussed about continuous monitoring, and how to enforce it among the vendors becomes another challenge today. We all want to monitor our vendors. We don't want to. We are now living in an environment where we do not want to forget the vendors once they are onboarded. So we need to monitor them. But the vendors are coming back and saying, who are you to monitor us? Because there is no contractual languages written. So what we are writing in contract and how it is being implemented, that's a problem. And that's something which we are discussing from the morning in today's session, that how and where the languages pertaining to monitoring should be put in the contract and at what stage. Often these contractual languages are not there in the legally binding statements, be it like a master service agreement or a contractual languages, because of which this gets missed out. And if a breach happens, the vendor is not informing us, or and when we are auditing them after a breach, or because of a regulatory requirement, we are not able to audit them or monitor them. So these are like some of the key challenges that we are facing, and which I also saw in today's discussion from the morning. I mean, third party and supply chain security summit is a great event, to be honest. I mean, I got introduced to the world TPRM community through this event, thanks to Anna, Alina, and Firoz for that. You know, I'm often a big fan of a word called collaborative defense, and it is through this event we derived this concept of collaborative defense. Now, what is collaborative defense? So, regulators, third-party practitioners, event organizers, or service providers, end-user organizations, they all work in silos. But if they all collaborate together, they can exchange ideas, thoughts that can help all of us drive one motion, that is securing your third parties. So this event actually helps you out to get into that mode of collaborative defense, right? So I mean, and this is like a gathering of a tribe called the third-party risk practitioners. So this often gives us an opportunity to meet our tribe members, exchange ideas, painful points and thoughts. So this is a special event. Wherever it happens in the world, I try to attend it. Yeah. Key findings, I mean, today from the morning we have been speaking about regulatory readiness, like, you know, especially in the Middle East and the North African regions as well as the European regions. There are a lot of regulatory guidances there on third-party risk management and outsourcing. How can we harmonize it, and how can everyone collectively agree to that and drive it? So that is one discussion which is happening, which is very much interesting. Number two is AI and automations. Today, no discussions gets completed without discussing about AI. So we have been discussing about AI throughout from the morning, like how AI can enable a lot of pain points in TPRM, like artifact collections, document reading, continuous monitoring, predictive analytics, on how AI is can be used to drive these activities. So that is another point that we have been discussing from the morning. Number three is real-time monitoring solutions. A lot of people have been discussing about it, and we see a lot of end-user service providers from real-time monitoring service provider, real-time monitoring services organizations as well, who are talking about how efficiently they can monitor your supply chain, the supply chain members in your organization, like vendors, their vendors, till the nth party. So these are the key discussion pointers happening from the morning. International TPRM Alliance, I would say, was born through the Supply Chain Security Summit only. Previously, it was known as TPRM with Yedhu. So it was started as a mission to support people to get an employment who lost their employment opportunities in COVID. I mean, many of them were laid off. So we trained people. We trained more than 100 to 200 people on the concept of TPRM, and we helped them get an employment opportunity. That's how TPRM with Yedhu was started, and gradually we started holding roundtables and discussions and virtual summits, and that's where we got introduced to third party and supply chain security summit by GIA group, and wherein after discussing with Alina, we decided to change the name as International TPRM Alliance, because during that particular point of time, we had members from 9 different countries, all speaking one language, which is TPRM. So International TPRM Alliance is a community-driven organization, a not-for-profit organization, which actually works to unite all the third-party risk management professionals around the globe. As of today, we have members from 15 different countries. We have like 300 plus 50 people who are all united together under one umbrella. We discuss about the regulatory impacts, pain points, issues, concerns. We gather in a month for a roundtable or a master class. We even support organizations to become their knowledge partner, wherein we try to drive the actual concept of TPRM, and we do We do hang out on the weekends as well, because it's a tribe, and we all speak the same language, and it's a community organization, so it's working well now. Yeah, thank you.